Good morning and welcome to our Wednesday word of encouragement. We're glad that you're joining us this morning. As we look to the future, there's some bright things on the horizon. As the vaccine comes out, many of our members have been vaccinated already, and we're looking forward to once again being open and being able to share and be involved in people's lives. But also, as we look to the future, there is fear. We don't know how soon or when, and there's a lot of uncertainty out there. People were asked recently what they're most uncertain about, and everybody said the future. But we know that God is in the future, and we know that God is the only one who knows the future. And if we knew everything, we probably would not be happy. But by putting faith and trust in God, we know that no matter what comes, He will be there to carry us through. So as we look to the future, as we look to 2021, let's start thinking about how we can be involved in doing God's will. But to do that, we need to remember some things that the book of James tells us. First, we need to go to God in prayer. We cannot leave God out of the future. James chapter 4, verse 13 says, "Look, you who say today or tomorrow we are going to a certain town and will stay there for a year. We will do business there and make a profit." James is describing a person here who is an entrepreneur who's just planning his future, and but there's no problem with that except he's leaving God out of the future. We can do the same thing if we're not careful. We can begin to plan, but not plan with God. We need to start praying right now. God, how are you going to use me? How are you going to use the Visalia Community Church? How are you going to use us to reach out and touch the community around us? There's that great proverb, Proverbs 3, verses 5 through 6, that says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not depend upon your own understanding. Seek His will in all that you do, and He will show you which path you should take." As we look to the future for ourselves, for our families, for our church, let's pray and ask God. Second would be to presume that we know what tomorrow holds. James chapter 4, verse 14 says, "You don't know what will happen tomorrow. What is life? You are a mist that is seen for a moment, then disappears. Instead, you should say, if the Lord wants us there, we will live and carry out our plans." James goes on to say in verse 16 that to think that we know what's going to happen in the future is arrogance. Only God knows what's going to happen. And if 2020 taught us anything, it taught us that we really don't know what the future holds and that we can't control it. But what it's also told us is that we need to get our priorities straight and to love and to care about others and to make sure that we don't forget the things that are precious in our life. The good news is that God's love, God's goodness will be there in the future, and God will be there to take care of us. The next thing we need to make sure that we do is we don't put off doing what's right. We cannot wait for the future to do what we need to do today. Procrastination kills ministry. Procrastination kills our lives. We need to right now be doing the good that God has called upon us to do. He goes on to say in verse 17 of James chapter 5, "Whoever knows what is right but doesn't do it is sinning." We can't waste our time. We can't misuse our time. We need to right now. If there's someone you're thinking about, call them, text them. If there's someone on your mind, someone you haven't seen in a long time due to the fact that we're unable to get out, don't just wonder about that person. Call that person, text that person, message that person. Let them know that you're thinking about them. Be involved in people's lives today. When you see someone who's hurting, and there's a lot of people hurting today, look for ways that you can help them. Don't just say, well, how can I help you? Think of a way that you can be involved in their lives. 1 John chapter 2 says, "We are sure that we know Christ if we obey his commandments. The person that says, 'I know him,' but doesn't obey his commandments is a liar. The truth isn't in that person." Whatever God is calling you to do, whatever needs God is putting in your path today, look for how you can minister to those needs. Look for how you can be involved in 2021. Don't just wait for the future. Look today how you can be ministering to someone else. You don't know. You may be the one thing that God has said today will bring brightness to their lives. Thank you for joining us today for online for our Wednesday Word of Encouragement. We hope to see you Sunday, either in person or online. Have a blessed day.